All right, let's get into something a little dark. We're going to explore what I'm calling the geometry of insatiable consumption. It's this chilling idea about a hunger that, well, can never ever be filled. Let's just dive right in.
So let me just start with a question for you. What if feeding your hunger only made it grow? I mean, really think about that. It's a total paradox, right? The very act of trying to find satisfaction just makes the emptiness inside you even bigger. It's a pretty terrifying thought, and honestly, it's the absolute core of what we're going to unpack today.
So, what are we actually dealing with here? Look, this isn't just basic survival instinct. We're talking about something called the will to consume. Now, it starts from a place we all kind of get, right? The will to power, that drive we have to grow, to achieve things, to overcome challenges. But imagine that drive gets twisted, corrupted, until it's just this one single destructive obsession for more, and nothing else.
Okay, so that leads us right into the first part of this, a corrupted logic. We're going to look at the predator's flawed premise. See, this isn't about some monster just loving the kill. It's about a fundamental error in thinking, almost like a philosophical sickness.
And the perfect symbol for this whole idea is, of course, the Wendigo. What defines it isn't the thrill of the chase. It's not about that adrenaline rush. No, it's all about this corrupted logic of consumption. It's driven by a completely broken philosophy, a fundamental misunderstanding of what it even means to want something, to have it, and to finally feel satisfied.
And this is where it gets really interesting. The Wendigo doesn't just hunt for any old meal to get by. No way. It's constantly searching for what it thinks of as the ideal prey. It's looking for a source of life that just seems so full, so vibrant. And the logic is, if it can just consume that fullness, it can absorb it, and maybe, just maybe, finally fill that gnawing void inside.
So how does this all play out in practice? Let's talk about the ideal prey, and the best way to do that is through a story, the parable of the reflections in the ice. This is where you can really see this whole flawed theory just become a tragedy.
So I want you to picture this scene. There's a predator, gaunt and skeletal, and its hunger is way more than just physical. It's watching a village from the tree line, and its eyes, they're not looking for the weakest one or the straggler. No, its gaze is locked on the one who seems the most alive, the one whose heart just seems to burn the brightest with warmth and kinship.
And this right here, this is the core of its flawed reasoning. It's the broken premise that its whole miserable existence is built on. The creature thinks to itself, if I consume the one who is most full, then I shall finally be full myself. It's such a simple, tragic piece of math, and it's so wrong.
So what happens next? Driven by this absolutely desperate logic, the hunt is on. The predator uses its monstrous power to stalk its prey. And this isn't just about getting a meal. It's about claiming a symbolic prize. To do it, it commits the ultimate taboo, crossing a line you can never come back from, all for that slim hope of finding some kind of peace.
All right, but what's the result of all this? Well, that brings us to the paradox of growth and the tragic consequence. This is the moment where expectation just slams headfirst into a horrifying reality. And here is that paradox, laid out plain and simple. The expectation? Satiation, an end to the gnawing hunger. But the reality? Oh, the reality is so much worse. It's a vaster hunger, a hunger bigger and deeper than it ever knew was possible. You see, the act of consuming that fullness only expanded the void.
So, how does this even happen? Let's break it down. First, the ultimate taboo is committed. But instead of filling the emptiness, the creature's body physically grows in proportion to the meal it just ate. Its frame stretches, its stomach literally expands, and the awful result of all that growth? Its capacity for starvation, its potential for feeling empty, just gets bigger and bigger.
So you see the tragic irony here, right? It's just so twisted. By hunting down the most perfect life it could find, the one thing it thought would finally satisfy it, all it did was increase its own ability to starve. It didn't fill the void, it just built itself a bigger one.
Okay, so this is more than just a spooky story. It's a perfect model for a specific kind of self-defeat. Let's start unpacking this as a concept. Think of it as a Faustian bargain and a truly destructive cycle. You know what is a Faustian bargain? It's basically a deal where every time you think you've won, you've actually lost. Every success is actually a deeper, more profound defeat. Every step forward just digs you deeper into your own personal hell. For the Wendigo, every single successful hunt is just another nail in its own coffin.
And this locks it into the most perfect destructive cycle you can imagine. The hunger always grows faster than it can be fed. That perfect meal it chases, it just reinforces the insatiable void. All that height and strength it gains, they're not advantages. They're just bigger tools to serve an eternal hunger. And what's left? A hollow shell of whatever it used to be.
So let's try to wrap our heads around this insatiable void with one final metaphor that I think really brings it all home.
Hunting for the ideal prey? You know what it's like. It's like trying to put out a roaring bonfire by throwing the driest, most seasoned wood you can find right into the middle of it. The better the fuel, the bigger the flames get. The more full the prey, the more voracious the fire of hunger becomes. It's a fire that literally feeds on the very thing that's supposed to put it out.
And all of this just leaves us with one final, kind of haunting question. The whole system we've been talking about is built on a corruption of the will. It starts as a will to be something, and it gets twisted into a will to simply have something. So I'll leave you with this. What happens when the will to have is all that is left?